Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. I want to get on here and do a quick video for you. Something came across my desk the other day that I was kind of compelled to talk about. And I got an email from Everytown Moms Demand Action. And so every holiday season, they send out an email with their talking points that they want their supporters to kind of use at the dinner table to spark conversation. Sometimes it could lead to, fighting, and so I'm not advocating for that. So my goal here for to this video is to just give you some talking points that you could use to, if anti-gun narratives come to the dinner table. Obviously, be respectful, but it's important that you are able to have these conversations kind of in a controlled environment with your family or your loved ones. So, without further ado, one of the first ones that they talk about is their myth is criminals will always find a way to get their hands on a gun. Okay, and their fact, and so they have a myth, and then they have the fact. The fact: laws like background checks stop gun sales to criminals every day since 1994. These laws have blocked more than 5 million gun sales to people who cannot legally own guns. Okay, so and it looks great at face value. The problem is, and this is my response and my counter to this myth and this fact, is the fact that criminals are still going to get their hands on guns. Okay, so a background check has never stopped a criminal from getting a gun. Okay, so criminals will get guns. It's just whether or not you want to involve the state or the feds in that purchase. Okay, so that's what's very, very important to note is we have background checks in the place in most states, which is great. The problem is it doesn't prevent that person that's set on committing a violent act from getting access to a firearm. They can get them on the black market. There's a huge black market for illegal guns, and so that's where they're going to go. They're not going to go to a gun store and FFL to go through a background check. So this is all a myth, and that's what they're. And this is another talking point for them, that they're trying to push more universal background checks. They do not work because criminals do not take background checks. They just go get guns. It could either be through theft, it could be through just an illegal arms trade, stuff like that. So that is my first myth that I wanted to debunk for you. The next one is this one right here. So the myth: guns don't kill people, people kill people. Okay, so their fact is people with guns kill people more efficiently than people without guns. The U.S. death rate is 13 times of that of higher income countries. Okay, so yes, I can say that guns are used to kill people by bad people. So what they're not talking about here though is, let's take guns out of the equation. People that are going to commit violent acts are going to find a way. It happened last week in Chicago. There was a guy that should not have been back on the streets. He lit a lady on fire in the subway and burned her, I think, 65% of her body. So that is not a gun, but that's an evil person doing an evil act. And so it's been happening since the beginning of time. And they're Cain and Abel with a rock. They have the UK, they have blades. In France, they use vehicles, so it doesn't matter, what the tool of violence is. If people are going to commit violent acts, they're going to continue to do that. So, what we should be focusing on here, and this is kind of my counter to them, is we should be increasing our enforcement. We should be increasing our prosecution rates, and we should also be increasing our prison sentence for these violent acts. Okay, so a stiff prison sentence has been shown to act as a deterrent for violence. And so that's how I would counter this argument. So my next one that I talk about is this one right here. So this one is, their myth is federal law prohibits all domestic abusers from having guns. Okay, so their fact is federal law does not prohibit current or recent former dating partners subject to a domestic violence restraining order from purchasing or possessing guns, and domestic abusers with access to a gun are five times more likely to kill their female victims. Okay, so obviously, for what I do as a trainer, I'm all about empowering women to make good and be safe with their firearm. And so with this situation, this is kind of misleading because obviously what they're trying to do is, this is a back way for them to garner more support from their supporters to push ERPO or red flag laws to disarm people without due process. Okay, which I don't agree with. I think that's wrong, because it makes people vulnerable. It also puts law enforcement that have to, you know, push these red flag orders through and confiscate firearms and put them in a dangerous spot too. And so this is just a way to just manipulate the conversation. Obviously, we want women to be able to feel safe in their homes, but they also need the ability to be able to defend themselves. So I feel that this one right here is this their poor attempt at trying to enact more red flag laws, which we already have here in Oregon, and we have ERPOs here in Oregon, and there's no conclusive data saying that that's actually helped the problem, and so just be aware of this one. This one is kind of a sticky one. I would be more for incentivizing training. I'd be more in favor of, making sure ladies are properly equipped and armed in these situations, and that's going to help keep them safer. Also, being able to get out of the situation, so having resources for ladies that could be in a domestic situation, or have a way for them to get safety, I think would be more important than trying to add another law that's probably not going to be enforced the way it should be. So, on to the next one. This one right here. So this one is, show you this one. So this one is, so the myth is strong gun laws don't work. Look at Chicago. Fact: Chicago proves why we must push for strong federal gun laws. Many of crime guns recovered in Chicago and from cities with strong gun violence prevention laws are trafficked from states with weaker gun laws. Okay, so what they're trying to do is make this argument saying that the problem that we're having in Chicago is not because it's not enough laws on the books there in Chicago. It's the fact that people are importing guns to Chicago. And that's one of their myth is when they create all these 22,000 different laws, when we're not enforcing these laws, people are still going to get guns. They're still going to commit crimes. Okay, that's the problem. Is we're not offering people opportunities to either get off the streets or find a different activity that's going to be safer for them. There's not a lot of opportunity in these environments, and which leads to them just dealing with the way they're dealing, and they're shooting each other, which is unfortunate, right? So I don't want, like, every life is too many that we lose. And so I think in this situation is they're trying to push for more federal regulation, but the problem is this is really a state issue. Okay, the issue that we're having here in Oregon is not because of a federal regulation; it's because of our Oregon regulations. Like we're just not set up for success. We're not prosecuting people effectively. We're not enforcing laws effectively, and we definitely don't have strong, like, mandatory minimum prison sentence as well. So my response to this one, my pushback would just, we need more enforcement. We need more prosecution, and we definitely need longer prison sentence for the people that are committing these crimes. And if they commit a gun crime, they should go to jail and not get out early. And they should be held without bail. So this cashless bail system is a real problem for all of us. And so that's just something that I wanted to talk about. And so my next one, this is my final one, which I really is one that I focus on, is myth. A small child cannot pull a trigger. Fact: every year, hundreds of children under age 17 or under gain access to a gun, unintentionally shoot themselves or someone else, sometimes fatally. 1 in 3 of these shooters is 5 or younger. Okay, so that is a problem. The problem is we have lack of education for young children. We should be teaching gun safety in the public schools at a very young age. We teach safety, discipline, respect for the firearm. The likelihood of our kids getting hurt goes down dramatically. And I can prove that. And that's not anecdotal evidence. This is through my years of experience as the president of a nonprofit that teaches gun safety to kids. And over my career since 2014, we've reached over 30,000 kids in 10 states and taught them life-saving skills, and had zero accidents with a firearm because of proper education. And so this one, what I do not, and I'm going to push back on this one right here, is the fact that they are considering a child up to 17 still a child, which by definition it is correct. But the problem is they're not talking about the huge gap from about 12 to 17, where in that situation we have teen violence. It's typically gang violence, or it's a teen suicide, which is a huge problem right now. So those two, if we could strip those two out of this conversation by changing this conversation from, instead of 1 to 17, we're talking 1 to maybe 10 years old, they're not going to have a leg to stand on in this conversation. So I would push back on this to say that, this information is very misleading. It's designed to confuse the people that read this. This is just a talking point, and this one is really, really easy to debunk. And so I guess my recommendation for this one to debunk it is to make sure that you say that, teaching gun safety at a young age to children is going to help prevent all these tragedies inside the home. Also, the parents, you have an important duty as well, is proper storage of that gun. Okay, so we don't need a new law. We just need to make sure that we're of the mindset that when the gun is not on our person, it goes in some of a form of secure storage. And if you have any questions about secure storage, shoot me a message, and I can get you some really great links to companies that support us, the Kids Safe Foundation, and why I like their products. So just want to get on this, do a little video here, and just make sure you guys have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your families. If this stuff does come up in conversation, obviously be calm, cool, collected. The point of me bringing this to your attention is for you to be armed with the facts. That way you can kind of push back and rebut some of this stuff, and do it in a way where you can get a conversion. Okay. A conversion is your Aunt Susie that aligned with this, but then sees it from your perspective by the way you present the information. And then maybe down the road, you can convert her into a voter. And that's how we grow this. Okay. So I just want to make sure you guys knew what I was kind of talking about and what I was thinking about on Thanksgiving, as I'm going to go see my family. And I hope you guys have a happy holiday, and we will see you again. I'm going to do another video in the next couple days, more in line with this when it comes to the advocacy work that I recommend. So we will talk soon. Thank you. Have a great day.